Hello friends, in this video we will talk about event flow in JavaScript. On the browser, you might have clicked on different elements, right? Either you are logging in your Facebook account, or you are searching something on the Google, or you are filling up some form and clicking on submit button or typing something on the browser form. So there are so many ways in which we interact with the browser, basically the HTML page and the DOM. So how the events flow when you click, when you type something, the focus in the text box, all your operations which you are doing have some events it generate, and these are trickled down to the right appropriate DOM element. So in this video we will talk about it in detail about how the event flows. So let's draw our DOM architecture and then we'll see. So at the top you have your HTML tag, then you can have the body, and within body, let's say you have some h1, and after that you have, let's say, some paragraph and maybe multiple paragraphs, and within a paragraph, let's say you have some div, and there's so much of things can happen of JavaScript, and this is called the DOM, right? Document Object Model. When you write your HTML file, when that file is loaded in memory, it is drawing this type of architecture, and when you click on something, for example within this paragraph we have a button, when you click on this button something happens. Let's say it can be submitting a form, or it will open up a new model window, anything, right? There you might have interacted with web browser a lot of time, and there are so many operations that happens. In this video we will talk about how the event flow, when you click on something, how that particular event handler is handling the events and what is going behind the scene. This is required in many cases when you develop websites or write any program in JavaScript, where we have to handle custom manner of any particular object. So let's see how we can register any event handler first on a button. Let's say there is a function called add event handler, which will take argument as an event and function name, right? On this element you can register an event handler. Basically when you write this button in HTML, you write this on click, right? This is one of the event handler on click what you have to do, and let's say this is a function, some function is there, right? On these elements we can register event handler, a custom event handler as well. Using, let's say, we can get this element, get element by ID in the HTML, and whatever the ID of this element, and we can register this event handler. Now how this event handler is triggered, because let's say you have clicked on this button, now this is one page, right? This is just one page, and here you have few things, let's say some form, and there is a button, right? Submit. So there are two ways of event flow. Either it can come from top, right? Top is what? Window object, browser window, and then it can have, let's say, a document, whatever is loaded in this window, and then we can have HTML, right? The body, then further children of that particular DOM. So event can flow from top to down, right? Or another flow is from bottom to top. So first of all, let's say you clicked on this, basically this button, right? Then the event can trigger, this will pass the event to its parent, and the parent here is this paragraph, right? And this way. This is how event can trickle to the top, or another way could be from this, right? So because browser is taking the click, right? So there are phases in which the this particular event will trickle down. These phases is called, first is called capture, the second called the target, third phase is called bubble up, bubbling basically. These are the three phases through which an event goes. In the capture state, in the capture phase, basically the event will trickle down till the target element. So basically this phase, right? And in this phase, once it reaches to the target element, then whatever it does with that particular event handler, it can be default event handler or whatever you have registered. After that, that event will be bubbled up to till the parent through this red arrow that I have shown. And these phases occur for every element unless until you have not disabled or interrupted that particular event flow. So this is called the event flow. But now let's say we have a target, right? At this point of time, we want to restrict that event should not flow to the parent element. So as we were saying, if we want to restrict this event, we have to call basically in that particular event handler, for example this button event handler, that stop propagation. So there is a function called stop this function on an element will stop the event to flow to their parents, right? And there are some use cases where we have to stop things so that it will not be handled, let's say, by the parent element, because they also have the event handler. Now if they will handle, then there will be some flow will trigger in the code, right? And let's say there can be another use case where we want to flow the event, we want to basically run this event handler in the capture phase. Once the event is getting down, right, at that point of time we want to handle this, this particular event handler of that particular element. This can be called if you pass an extra parameter in this event handler, which is third parameter called capture. It's a boolean thing, we have to pass it true. So if you pass this capture equal to true, then in the capture phase, when the event is trickling down to the bottom, to the target, it will run this event handler, not when it is bubbling up that event. So for all the event, these phases will go through unless until you don't interrupt that using, let's say, the stop propagation. So it is up to you when you want to run that particular event handler. And there can be requirement, for example, a simple example on this tree. First, let's say you want to alert something. Okay. The alerting, let's say on the H1 and P and button. On the alert thing, on the when the first alert should come, let's say the requirement is first alert should come h1, the second alert should come p, and third alert should come button, right? By default the event will be handled, basically event handler will be called in the bubbling up phase, right? This red thing. So by default, if in these functions we have registered event handler, which is basically alerting these things, then button will be called first. This alert will happen first because of this event is handled during the bubbling up phase, and then p1 and then h1. Let's say the requirement is opposite. So in that case, when you are registering an event handler to a element, you can pass capture equal to true. In that case, event alert will happen in this format, not this one. Okay. Similarly, there is a function called remove event handler. Let's say you have you want to remove some event handler from a element, then you can do this thing. Again, the arguments are same. Capture equal to true also comes to this. When we are removing an event handler, there are few things that will happen. So basically the downstream events will be removed automatically. Take an example. There is an input field you have created, right? You can type anything in this. Let's say this is an element. When you click on this, there are two events happens. One is mouse down, right? So that this mouse down is one event. And the second event is on focus, right? On focus. So these are the two events that happens. But if we remove the event handler for this, then it will automatically remove the these focus, the downstream events, and these events are automatic, right? You don't have to do anything. This will flow as per the design. Now the one last thing, there are few events on which there are specific already decided event handler. For example, in a browser, if you click somewhere and keep the click on and drag something, right, it will be selected. It's by default. You don't have to handle that particular functionality on your own. Now if you want to, let's say, disable this default behavior, right, there might be some cases. For example, if you click on submit button, it will automatically submit, right? You don't have to do anything. So in such cases, if you want to disable these default behavior, there is a function called prevent default. This prevent default function you can call and you can disable that particular thing. Let's say you want to build your own logic for submitting. Let's say when you click on something, some button, right, the form should be submitted to some particular website, particular API, let's say you want to call. Now that logic you will write in your function. So before that, you have to call this event dot prevent default, so that it will not function its own default behavior, rather your customized behavior. This is how you can basically run your custom logic. And when we are saying the custom logic, you can create your custom events as well. So there is a class to create an event, right? But when you do new event, it will create a new event, and whatever the name you want to give, let's say movement or the scrolling. By the way, scrolling is already an event, scroll, but you can create custom event. This is a class which will take some argument. Let's say I want to create an event called Anika, right? And I can give this, it's basically the second argument I can give its handler function, how you want to handle this particular event, or a default functionality for this event. So I hope you got a complete idea about event flow and what are the different events and how it will flow on your web pages, on your web application that you create. So let's summarize all the things. A web page has a DOM which will have its own structure, and on any element, if you want to click or do some operation on hover, right, there can be different types of events, and all the events will go through three phases. One is called capture, second is target, third is bubbling. Capture is this particular state, going the event to that particular target element. On target phase, it will run its event handler, then it bubble up that event and all the parents event handler will be called. But if you want to change the phase of this and want to run your event handler in the capture phase, in that case you have to pass another parameter called capture equal to true. And similarly, you can remove the event handler, and on if you want to, let's say, don't want to propagate that particular event to the parent, right, you can call stop propagation. This will stop the event to propagate downside or upside in whichever phase you call this your event handler. And another important function is prevent default, to cancel the default behavior of that particular event handler if it is cancelable. Similarly, there is another function called custom event, not a function, basically an object which you can create to create your custom events. So this is all about event flows in JavaScript. If you like this video, please share with your friends and let me know in the comment section what are the good part that you have understood in this particular video. What are the new learnings and aha moment for you? Please let me know in the comment section on what other topics you want to see videos. I'll be happy to create videos on those topics. With this note, I will take a leave. But before taking leave, please subscribe to this channel and like this video so that it can reach to other potential users who will be benefited with this content. With this note, this is BK from Anika signing off.